Thank you all for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about Stern technology. Part of the reason why I wanted for the team to do this session is tomorrow you'll get lots of sessions with our designers. Our designers and the teams that work with them make these wonderful games. But underlying all that is a group of folks that are sometimes unsung heroes of the underlying technology we do and the work we've been doing to make these games better and better. The company has a long history of improving the technology, and we've really made a concerted effort over the last few years to make the underlying technology, the underlying platform, Insider Connected, all of these things, a better and a better experience for both the player and the community. And so with the launch of Spike 3 and all the great stuff we have with Insider Connected, we thought this was a great opportunity to talk about a bunch of those things. So we have here George Gomez, who you all know is our Chief Creative Officer. And we have Erica Fromm, who is our Chief Technology Officer. Um, Erica has been with us for 3 years now, 3 years now, but she was with the company longer than that. Her company that she had externally was actually the ones that were partnered with George and Guido and team to create Insider Connected in the first place. So she was working with the company on Insider Connected from the very beginning. She decided that she was willing to join us and gets to work on other fun things like our ERP system and our IT infrastructure and all those things. I don't know why she's interested in doing that, but I really like that she does it for us. So I'm glad that she joined us to take care of all those things as well. And then we have Taylor Bancroft. And Taylor, you've been with us for a little while now. You folks may know Taylor from the community. You also may know her from a lot of the work she's done product managing large elements of Insider Connected. She's worked on a lot of the stuff we're talking about here today. She's actually taking on some new responsibilities, working on some of our other customer-facing technologies as well. So she's doing a couple of different things. And then we have Mark Guidarelli, or Guido, as you might know him. And Guido does a couple of jobs for us. One is he leads all of our software developers on all of the game teams. But above and beyond that, he and his team also do all the system technology. So the guts, the operating system, the system technology, everything that runs in the layer in between the hardware and the game software itself. Guido is one of the big leads on that and has that whole team, and they do a lot of that work. And as you might imagine, with Spike 3 coming online, we had to refactor the whole operating system and everything in between. So that team does a ton of work as well. So that's who you'll be hearing from today. And I'm going to let George get us started.
All right. Thank you, Seth. Hello, everybody. If I'm a little hoarse, I just got done with the Stern tour. I think we had like 1,500 people or something come through, and I talked straight from 9 in the morning until 3 p.m. If you went on the tour, you understand that it was rough. So I want to start. I want to start with a couple of things. The most important thing that we do is create fun, compelling entertainment. That is the prime directive, and all of the technology that we develop is in service of that. And today you have a real treat, an unexpected treat. I didn't think he was going to show up for this, but there is Spike system royalty in the room. Oh, Andrew Pines, please stand up and say hello to all the people. Andrew is an old friend. Him and I, we go way back. We probably on and off have worked together for 40 years. And Andrew is an incredibly talented engineer and designer. And he is the guy that has designed and architected the Spike system. And where this all began, interestingly enough, was here at Pinball Expo. Different location many years ago when I joined the company, and we had to move off of the company's, at the time, SAM system technology. And I said to Andrew, what should we do? And so in a conversation in a restaurant at Pinball Expo, on the back of a napkin, literally, we conceptualized the notion of modular and scalable. And that modular and scalable is a key component that has made Spike survive. I'll give you another piece of data. In the near future, Spike system games, if they're not already the standard of the world, they will be the standard of the world. There will be a bigger footprint of Spike technology in the world than WPC 95, if you can imagine that. And that was the Williams system that I worked in for, throughout the 90s and into the 2000s. Can I get the next slide? So the Spike system, most of you don't know this, but this is what Spike means. Stern Pinball Interactive Kinetic Entertainment. I named it. Kinetic is an adjective that means related to motion. And really, if you look at the last three words that I underlined, dynamic, lively, and energetic, that is what I expect our pinball machines to be. So, that's why it's called that. So this is really telling. It's effective, it's efficient, and it's elegant. The home edition, by the way, the home edition pioneered Spike 3. Spike 3 is in every Costco home edition. It was in those games before it was in the commercial games. And that hardware that you see right there is all of the hardware that runs a home edition. One node board, the same carrier CPU, GPU board that you use, that you get in your commercial game, and the power supply, which we finally got around to making it quiet. Since
yeah, you can clap for that. Once I had one in my office for long enough, I'm like, we're fixing this.
So Gary, between Gary's apartment and Seth's office, it became an engineering mandate. I don't care what it costs, make that thing quiet. So, next slide. Okay, so scalable, modular, and flexible. So what does that mean? It means that when we architected the system, we knew that there were things that we were going to invent that we couldn't visualize at that moment in time, whatever it was, 10 years ago. So, Andrew had this concept that we will have these nodes. The nodes will do all of the things that we normally do. And then when we need to do a weird thing, like hang a QR reader on a bottom arch, we will design a new node, a custom node. When we want to put a display on the playfield for a Star Wars game, we will design a new node. And the nodes will daisy chain together, and when the game wakes up, the very first thing it does is it polls the world, and everyone checks in. I'm node 1, I'm node 2, I'm node 3, all the way down. And that's happened. That's allowed us to be scalable and modular and flexible. And that has been an incredible component of the survivability, viability, and just the endurance of Spike. Next slide. So I once asked Andrew, how many nodes can I string together? And he said, I don't know, but it's a lot. More than, we could probably power, I don't know, like a city. So this slide really represents that, that's originally, I don't know if you remember, but we had different kinds of node boards in the base system because we were trying to increase its resolution of use. So we had a four coil core node, and then we had an eight coil node, etc.
Yeah,
Mark?
32 switches, 32 lamps. They were a lot smaller as we were learning what the sweet spot was, and Ghostbusters was the advent of the core node, which fundamentally one core node can address all the needs of the lower half of a playfield very well. And it was the sweet spot of 9 coils, 64 switches, 64 lamp drives, things like that.
The majority of your games almost all of your games, unless you have a home edition, ship with 2 cores. So a core at the back of the playfield, a core at the front of the playfield. And this slide really just represents the fact that there's a thing we call the cabinet node. That's the funny looking board beneath the power supply there. That's also in all of your games. And that is really designed to handle the coins and
coin door, tilt, all the things that are of the cabinet nature. And fun fact, it's 31 node addresses we can handle, George. And maybe the largest number of boards, maybe Batman 66 is on the
probably
higher end.
we use them on a.
You did?
Yeah.
I think it's Batman
Choppers,
66.
yeah. All right, next slide, please. All right, have you ever seen the code? I know you guys are all always talking about the code. What's it? The code, the magical code. That's the code. That's what the code looks like.
Our development environment is Slick Edit for most people. I'm an old guy, so I use Emacs and command line for the most part, but a lot of the folks use Slick Edit, and we have abilities to deploy and debug all, through a nice GUI.
Yeah, so you can't read it because it's really small, but yesterday when I was like trying to put this presentation together in a rush because of all the other 65 million things we have to do to get ready for you and to keep the trains running for business, I ran into Tanyo's office and I said, give me a snapshot of code. You're like, what? He says, I don't know, open up Deadpool and show me something.
Yeah,
so if you look at that, there's like, you'll recognize a bunch of commands and things relative to Deadpool.
George, I got a panic message. Is it okay? I said, of course it's okay. George asked.
All right, next slide. So Spike 3, I mean, the single biggest thing, if you haven't seen the documentation, we've published a lot of stuff, but it's really about more, better, everything. We have a bigger display. We have, True HD. We have more processing power that allows us to do many more things. We have an improved sound system. We're going to have wireless headphones very soon. We have a whole variety of improvements, some of them quality of life, some of them performance-oriented, that have come into Spike. And it's evolutionary, so the great thing about this is that every Spike 2 node board is going to work with Spike 3. And eventually, maybe even some Spike 2 games will make them way onto Spike 3 platform. So, I know Guido, Seth, I know you guys have talked a lot about some of these improvements. Did I miss anything?
Well, one thing is a design in mind of serviceability. Of course, we took lessons learned on Spike 2. Was there any items that failed repeatedly in tracking from a design point of view or a component point of view? So that went into the design mix. But another big item that Andrew and I said from day one, Spike 3 shall be a board that can replace a Spike 2 or a Spike 1 CPU in those cabinets. So we made the form, fit, and function such that it could drop into the cabinet, the wiring harness would hook up, and when we have updated software, you would have your Ghostbusters using a Spike 3 CPU on a dot matrix display. Will you get all the benefits of Spike 3? Not all of them, but some of them that are very important. You'll get a better audio subsection. You'll get the access to wireless speaker and headphones. So some of those items that will naturally be available without other hardware updates will be available on Spike 2 and Spike 1.
Yeah, and the sound system, I'm very proud of the work we did there. You're going to see even more evolutions on that. The next iteration of the games, of Spike 3 games, the speaker array on the speaker display panel is going to get enclosures to further improve the sounds. That going to the separates, which was originally forced by the notion of having to accommodate the 18.5 display, turned out to be an advantage, because in conversations with the sound or the speaker designers at the speaker company that provides our speakers, the conversation quickly shifted to how do I improve the sound system now that I've reduced the size of the speaker. And so a bunch of real acoustics engineers, guys that design audio for a living, are the guys that designed the components that went into the system. So in other words, we didn't just pick something off the shelf. There was a lot of conversation went into designing the volumes for the enclosures, how the speakers work, how the speakers relate to a pinball machine and the things that play out of a pinball machine, and the way that we use audio in a game. So when I tell you that it was designed and engineered, I'm not saying that we picked something out of a catalog and bolted it to the panel. So when you get a chance to experience it, and it's probably really difficult to experience it in the game room next door because of all of the chaos of noise there. But I'll tell you a further thing. I should have thrown the slide up here. I got a text message from our good friend Ed Robertson, lead singer of the Bare Naked Ladies, who's a huge pinball aficionado, and he got his Star Wars LE, and his one comment was, "Wow, this audio system." So, I think that when a guy like that knows music and sound says the audio system's pretty cool, I'm okay. Check that.
Yeah, we did a lot of work on the audio system. The amplifier is much more powerful. We put a heat sink on it to better dissipate heat from it when it's driving it hard. We revisited the reconstruction circuit. Did a lot of work also with the volume curve and mapping on it. And it is different than Spike 2, but it was purposely laid out. The concept is we always have 0, which is silent, to 63, which is as loud as it can get.
You can't stand in front of it at
You
63.
can't, and I actually nerfed it down a little bit from what it really could do. But even at 63, it does not distort. You do not hear any bad side effects or clipping within reason. But the design of the sound curve was like 1 to 12 would be if you were in an apartment. You live in an apartment, you don't want to have problems with your neighbors, or you're in a house and you want to be mindful. From like 13 to the 20s are what you would have in a louder house environment, maybe in a quiet public place. Into the 30s would be a public barcade. Above 40, there is always been a feature that you can cap the min and max software, because some operators mount external volume buttons. So right now the default is capping it at 40 because that is very, very loud. You can override that and go all the way up to 63. It doesn't distort. It is very, very loud. So it is a very good sound system in this. We're really happy with it, and really worked on the sound curve to try and give everyone what they would want in the various environments, because we have to, I always think about commercial first, because Gary tells me I always think commercial first, but residential being the bulk of our audience these days, we need to come up with solutions that would work well for that. And in addition to that, if we want to talk about wireless headphone and speakers, which is working in the lab, one of the things that's taking a little longer is the user experience for that, of pairing with speakers, how you do it properly. Because again, as I talked about, we have this commercial and the residential experience, and that actually affects a lot of things. In a residential experience, it's probably always me, always my headphones. It should auto connect. I shouldn't have to do pairing. But when I'm in a commercial environment, it has to be my headphones and not Taylor's standing next to me. I don't want to select hers and blast hers. So there's some user experience and how to make that as do the right thing as much as possible and be frictionless. So those are the technology there. It's working. We're scratching our chins and doing some review of the user experience, and it will be available soon.
Yeah, so this next slide, I think, is just more Spike 3 benefits and stuff. And I mean, I think,
Let me, so we published them out, but I'll just speak to, right? We're going to be talking about Spike 3 for a while because the list of benefits are so sort of numerous, right? We've got better Wi-Fi, which is going to be a quality of life improvement for a lot of people. Guido and I have been working a lot on sleep-wake function. That's another one for, primarily for a home environment of maybe you don't want to wait for your game to boot up. Maybe you want your game to go to sleep and wake up quickly and download code in the background.
Can I step in on that? Yeah. So that one's something we've kind of said, yeah, we'll have some power function. There'll be sleep weight. We haven't talked about it a lot. A lot of this is also, again, how do you do the user experience for this end? How do we deal with commercial versus residential? Operators in a commercial environment, they turn on the game and turn off the games primarily with the fuse box. They throw the master switch, turn it off, turn it on. probably less applicable for them. Moreover, the two flavors we have is what I'm going to call standby, which is like what your computer does. You could set it up in a home environment. You probably wouldn't want it in a commercial environment. If it's idle for 15 minutes or some amount of time, go into standby. That means the display is going to go off, playfield lights are going to go off. It can be woken up almost instantly by hitting the action button or the start button. May or may not have the start button blink every once in a while. That's a user experience versus, power, what I want to do there or what we think is the best thing. And some of these things is we'll roll out the first thought on it and we might pivot a little bit on refinement. Other things is it could auto go to sleep always at 6 p.m. It could wake up at 8 a.m. So standby is kind of like what you do with your computer, and instead of shaking the mouse, you're going to hit the action button or the start button. You will get some power savings. The CPU board will be the one thing that's still powered because you want to get software downloads while it's in standby. Then the other mode is deep sleep, and that solves a couple of quality of life things. Is I've heard, and George has heard often people say, I really don't like where the power button is. My games are tight together. It's hard for me to get to. I'm used to the old spot. With deep sleep, the game will turn off, literally as if you turn the power off. So when it repowers on, it'll be a full boot cycle. However, it does this without turning the switch off. And if you hit the start button or the action button, it wakes up and boots. Where this also can be used is, again, 6 p.m. at night. Say I'm at a location that doesn't throw the fuse box. Well, I could say 6 p.m. at night, turn off, 8 a.m. in the morning, turn them all on. So we're giving, options like this. And again, commercial versus residential has a different requirement and experience. But the concept is, and in that one is you will be saving complete energy. Just the power distribution board is very light trickle and to be able to recognize the buttons. This is the deep sleep and standby is a feature. If you were to replace the CPU board in a Spike 1 or Spike 2, that will not follow with that because it requires an updated power distribution board. The Spike 3 electronics package is the new CPU board, the power distribution board, and the updated power supply.
The one last one I wanted to throw out there, in the modern world, a lot more people are trying to capture their gameplay and maybe even share their gameplay. So we made sure to have one cable HDMI monitor output. So yeah, that's what I like. We want more people to know about and see pinball. So poor Andrew and Guido had to deal with me asking for this one.
Well, that was a lot of Andrew as well. That was part of the technology. And if you look at the board, you see a big chip in the middle, and you go, "What the heck is that big chip in the middle?" That is the item that drives the HDMI to the main LVDS panel technology. And since it could do more, we said, hey, Seth, can we spend, I don't know what it is, 80 cents more on a connector and break this out? And then the challenge was, well, if you're going to break out video, I want audio with it. and so it is.
So now you guys have that.
Make your lives easier. Cable. So again, let's think residential and commercial, because we always do. Commercial, you can now have, like in the old days, a screen above a game. It can have audio with it as well. Residential, you can do it, also have a screen above the game, or you could be doing streaming or some form of capture with it, and you get the audio with it. And the audio is pre any DSP or filtering. So it's a line out that you can put into your amplifier or your software to adjust as needed.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit into Insider Connected. I'll do a little bit, and then I'll let Erica take it from there. So these are charts of what's been going on in pinball and what's been going on with Insider Connected. So as you can see, these go up and to the right and keep increasing. So gameplay is up. We're up like 30% over last year already in terms of gameplay to date. IC users are up and connected machines are up. Look, we had more than 1,200 people come and tour our factory. We've got a ton of you here at Pinball Expo. It's a testament to what you guys are all doing, how this community is growing and getting bigger. And we see it in Insider Connected. Pinball is absolutely growing, and it's growing fast. And so that's what we see, and that's the real data up there. So Pinball's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people are involved in it all the time. All right, why don't we talk about a little bit of what we've been doing in Insider Connected to grow that a little more? So, is Taylor?
I'll talk for a second. Um, well, first of all, thanks for everybody, coming. It's awesome to see so many friends and community members all in the same place. Um, so over the past year in Insider Connected, we kind of went quest crazy. And because I work with some of the smartest people that I've ever met in my life, they get to build the technology that we get to use. So we did that in a few different ways this year. The first is that we started to get more information from the machine to our servers. So it wasn't just that we knew you got this score at Logan Arcade, or we knew you played with, with some friends and you got a cumulative score. It was all very score based at first. But then we started to get to know a little bit more, and we knew like, okay, this person just defeat Demigorgon on Stranger Things, awesome. This person just went to Seattle in Foo Fighters, sick. Let's give them a badge. And so from there we were like, okay, we went from this box of crayons that was like 3 colors to
Right.
a full Crayola pack.
And it's still evolving. So some of what Taylor's talking about is thinking of things of just not score over time, but events within the game that are meaningful. That what was done in what order and how long it took you to do it. And some games, as we update games and do updates to the back catalog, and by the way, I consider every Spike 2 game as an active development. We could do an update at any time. If there's platform improvements, particularly IC triggered, you will see one of the all games updates. I don't think we've done one this year because Spike 3's been kind of a lot of my team's focus. But we do, as we visit and rebuild old games, we are putting in more event-based triggers to allow the IC team to do really cool, creative, and innovative quests.
So I had the question today during the tour, so I'm gonna cover it also here. People ask me, like how many teams work on what, and do the game teams design achievements and stuff like that. So the game teams absolutely design their achievements. The system was from the get-go conceptualized such that those guys are busy working on their games, and they shouldn't be worried about insider connected code or plugging into their games or any of that stuff. So the two things are in that way agnostic. The game teams absolutely design anything that's related to how their game works or how they reward things from the game comes from the game teams, but it's strictly a design thing.
Mhm.
All of the heavy lifting is happening outside the team.
Yeah, and when we rolled out IC 3 years ago, has it been 3 years ago? So
Four.
okay, it's all a
We
blur.
just had our fourth birthday.
So 4 years ago, I stand corrected. There was a small core of myself and a couple other engineers, Mark Panaccio, Tanya Kleiss, that came up with the infrastructure and the structure very similar to all the other aspects of our kind of pinball framework. So we were able to roll it out over whatever, I think it was 18 games at that point, and work with the game teams of doing the creative content for the various achievement objectives for each game, and we were able to kind of roll it out in one fell swoop. But it was because the whole thing has been designed again as a service within the pinball framework, that it's very easy and it's mostly table driven for games to be able to add achievements.
Achievements continue to be a favorite of little kids
Mhm.
because it's a badge they can show on their phone, and that's really all they care about. They're not that interested in beating dad's score, but they are very interested in getting that badge. So, and of course, some of you big kids
This
have
is good
also
there.
reached out to me when you haven't gotten your achievements or whatever.
Everybody's a little kid at heart.
Yeah. This is a company of big children, and it's great. Um, Yeah, so achievements are great because they teach you like what are the things that I'm trying to go after in the game. One of the limitations of achievements is that you get it once and you're done. And George kind of said, well, we should have this concept of quests where you have a limited time frame where there's a challenge put out and you earn the badge, but you gotta be ready for it. If you miss the time frame, you're not gonna get it. So we have to keep you on your toes. Um, so it's been really fun. One of the first things that we did when we started to get more game events coming, we call them game events. Game events are, whatever you're doing in the game that is progressing the storyline of your play. Now we know about it and we can use it. We call like a quest trigger. One of the cool things that we did when we first started to get this data was what was called the Stern Pinball Cup. And we've always had this struggle where, like, how are you supposed to put out a quest where all of the games, Godzilla, Stranger Things, Foo Fighters, like all of our games that score so differently and have such unique rule sets to them, how do you even compare the two? Like, especially when we only had score, because if it was Batman versus, Beatles, I would choose Batman because that's a pretty high scoring game. So we tried to do a thing where we looked at how many of you guys y'all were earning objectives on the games. And we said, okay, from that information, we can with relative ease say that's probably an easy objective. This is probably in the middle. That one's hard. That one's really hard. So we can do a layer of points that says, okay, if we know this is an easy objective on Stranger Things, we'll give you 2 points for it, and we'll try our best to pick an objective that's of this like a similar difficulty on a different game. And that was kind of our first attempt at bringing like the whole Stern ecosystem into one event, which was really fun. And honestly, you guys helped so much because everybody was giving feedback on like the tuning, the technology is what made it happen, but really, it's a science and an art to get it to be fun. Because making something fair across 24 games is tough, and it's not just numbers; it's also feedback from y'all. And you guys gave so much feedback, and thank you for all of it. Um, so we did Pinball Cup. That was interesting. Also, one more thing about that because we were like, okay, on this global scale, I'm never going to see myself on a leaderboard amongst all of you. You guys are way too good. I am not that good. So we wanted to kind of filter it and be like, well, what if we did a view where it's only you and your connections? Or what if we did a view where you can look at your points on a leaderboard that's just based on the people that play at Logan Arcade or whatever your favorite arcade is? Obviously, that's my favorite arcade. I keep saying it. Um, and it kind of like made the world feel a little bit smaller and localized. And I think you can expect to see more of that over time from Insider Connected. It was just cool to see it, our first attempt at it with the technology that we had. Okay, moving on from Pinball Cup, we wanted to put a lot of content out there. So we decided this year that we were going to do a new set of badges every week. So thank you to everybody who was able to make that happen because you have we have the person that's Ben Gomez, who's probably sitting here somewhere, who's actually designing, taking the art from the games and creating those badges and honoring the games by creating those badges. You have the Mike Vinacore and the software developers and the designers that are helping choose what objectives make sense, reviewing, hey, does the badge make sense with the objective, are the objectives like the right level of difficulty? All of that stuff took a whole team, and the QA team obviously to make sure that they worked. So that was a pretty cool thing to see so many badges put out into the world. I can't even tell you the number of badges we did, but there was a lot. Um, and then a couple of other things technology-wise we were able to do in Insider Connected this year. It was either this year or maybe late last was when we first launched Insider Connected. I don't know if you guys remember, but you had to type in the Wi-Fi password in the Wi-Fi, everything using the two buttons on the coin door. Um, and I can't tell you the amount of times I like almost cried because I got the password wrong over and over again. So we decided to make that flow a little bit easier. So we have technology that's driving fun, but we also want to continue making technology that's driving ease of use. Um, and then, am I missing anything?
Wick quests.
Pin
What
safe?
about
Oh
the
yeah.
Wick
Pin
contract?
safe. Oh, I'm missing so much, guys.
The Wick contracts. That was
You
a,
talk
a
about that
ne-
one.
no. That's more of you. But It was the concept of adding sort of pop-up challenges that could be time-bounded and number of people that could fulfill the contract. And that was a lot of engagement. I got a lot of people trying to pressure me for the inside info when the next contract would drop.
I was like,
Contract Underworld.
It's the first time I've ever felt powerful.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was cool. We actually used push notifications for that, which push notifications are so tough because you guys know, like, you start to get bombarded by a bunch of push notifications and you turn it off. Like, who wants to be bothered all the time? So it's a very delicate thing. We only want it to be fun. Um, so the contracts were great. They were really thematic to the game. That was awesome to work on something that really just kind of played into the theme. And we also played into the theme with D&D. So we were able to make two different, what we call game progress widgets, the technical term, I guess. And what it is like a character sheet, essentially, which character sheets are so integral to the world of D&D. And we would not be able to make a D&D pinball machine and have an Insider Connected app without making a character widget. So now you can see your stats, and you can see how your stats change, as you play your campaign more and more. And then we also made what's called a trinket widget. So the items that you collect in the game, other games you've played, you collect items, of course, but when you collect them, you don't have anything to reference back of like, well, what haven't I collected yet, and what does that thing do for me in my gameplay? And so the trinket widget gives you that information without needing to be right on the game. The pin save system. Do you guys want to talk about pin save?
That PinSave was Tanya Kleiss's kind of baby brainchild, working with Dwight Sullivan. It's a way of having persistent data that follows with the Insider Connected person's account that fuels or powers the ability to do the progression nature that the D&D team wanted.
I heard a lot of requests today on the tour for more pin save.
More
Yes.
pin save.
Yes. So George, you and your team gotta influence everyone except for Dwight Sullivan to come along. As you guys might imagine,
So
we want the creativity of our design teams, and they have a lot of control over the things they want to do and what makes sense for their game, and putting in the things that make sense for their game. And now we have some underlying technologies that they can choose to use in their games.
That's correct. Like anything that we do like this, if it's a good idea, I don't like one-off solutions. I like to incorporate things like this into the system framework. So the persistent data, that concept is available to game teams that wish to use it, and I believe more will.
the other request was co-op play.
Yes.
Okay,
Everyone wants co-op
so
play.
how many-
And I mean, I had a guy come up to me today, and he goes, "The only way I can talk my wife into playing pinball is on the games that have co-op." So
it seems like we should look at how often people are playing co-op.
Absolutely, that's the number one thing I hear, and Godzilla name is always mentioned with that. There's also something that's a Dwight Sullivan invention. Dwight invents a lot of things. Impossible mode. Has anyone ever heard of that? And does anyone ever use it? Okay, do you use it repeatedly? Do you use it in the environment where your other players to make you disadvantaged against the rest of the family or lesser players? Okay. So I get requests about that, and again, that one's not part of the system yet, but I think it's going to graduate to be part of the system.
Well, and keep giving us feedback for all the stuff that you guys want. That's what gets us making the changes and the updates. And as you can see from this, right, all these folks at the table have done a lot of testing, learning new things, right? We're inventing new stuff for pinball here with all of these things, and so every one of these is a test of trying something new. We're going to learn from it, and we're going to keep going.
There's a lot of examples of you all submitting feedback, and I just want you to know it doesn't go into a black hole. Like, we really listen to all of it. We wish we could do it all immediately so that everybody gets everything that they want. But there's a few examples. I think one of our super fans was like, I want to see how many locations like I've played a year, and immediately we're like, okay, year in review, got it. In so it's all coming to the table and keep talking to us.
In 2025, we've spent a lot of time on the more invisible things like revamping our server architecture, our system architecture, things that are supposed to be invisible that not aren't always. Um, when I first connected with George and Mark, George said, we don't even know if the pinball community is going to want this. We just want to do a small test. Let's do something quick and relatively inexpensive. And we launched in 2021. And then 2 weeks before the Pinball Expo, George said, I really think leaderboards are gonna resonate. We spun up the leaderboards that you still see today within 2 weeks, and we've been dealing with the ramifications of all of that ever since. So
Anybody who works in software knows how that works.
yes.
So I have to tell you, the leaderboard thing is funny because we had to pick features. We had so many, we had a big whiteboard, big list of features, and we had to pick like, okay, what's minimum viable product when we launch this thing? What are the features going to go there? And I remember going in to see, leaderboards was on the list, and I remember talking about it, and like randomly, I called a couple of guys in the room, right?
Mhm.
Keith Elwin, Zach Sharp,
Mhm.
all these tournament players, and they said to me, "Nah, leaderboards won't work because people are going to game you." And so we said, okay, well, for Expo, we decided we're going to do a little experiment.
Yeah.
We
A
did
little experiment.
we did leaderboards for Expo. It was supposed to be like a little bit of a tech demo,
Yeah.
kind of like how do we show off some IC stuff.
Yeah.
Wasn't supposed to be anything more than
Yeah.
that.
And then the next week we got to give them to operators. And so it's just it's grown on a architecture that was an MVP architecture that we knew if this took off we'd have to readdress. So we spent a lot of time this year addressing the scalability of our system on the back end, and undertook a rewrite of our front end for a lot of things we want to do going forward. So while all of you haven't seen the benefits of that yet, it's ungating a lot of the things we've wanted to do for a long time and a lot of the things that you've been requesting. So we're super excited about the next year. And one of those things
is all access. So the question of why can't I have home leaderboards required us to do a lot of that re-architecting, because home leaderboards is likely to increase the number of leaderboards dramatically. And so we've also had for a long time an all access membership. And to be honest, the all access membership wasn't given as much value as we really wanted it to. So we kind of merged a couple of things together, and we are relaunching all access. So one of the big things here is be a pro at home. We've gotten a lot of requests for all the different pro features for home users, particularly leaderboards being the most meaningful one. There's also tech alerts and some other information in there that you'll be able to get. But all access isn't just about digital things, it's also about physical. So one of the big things that anybody who's familiar with like an Amazon Prime is familiar with is everybody likes free shipping, nobody likes to pay for shipping. Who wants to pay for shipping? They want to pay for stuff. So free shipping just seemed like the right thing to do and include in here. So it'll be free shipping in the continental US. If you're in a more exotic location, we'll give you a discount on your shipping, but we can't figure out every single market. I wish it was as cheap to ship everywhere as it is to ship in the US. The other thing we have is you're going to show up in gold on the leaderboard. So if you're a subscribing member, you can see a couple of examples on this chart. You have a little gold border around your name, and when you log into the machine, it'll scan in with the gold borders as well. We're also going to offer a way to do free yearly factory tours. The scheduling software will roll out relatively soon here. We'll start scheduling tours for probably January and beyond there. And you're going to get invited to some exclusive experience and members-only webinars as well. So it's a combination of some digital features, some real-world features, and some exclusive and some experiences. And so we're trying to provide folks with enough value here. If you sign up, we're still rolling out the features, but we wanted to be able to talk to you all about it here. So for the next couple of weeks, if you sign up, you'll get it for $79. After that, it's going to be $99.
A year.
So Seth, when are we?
Thanks, Taylor.
Seth,
Taylor's got my fine print for me.
I'm like, oh, technically.
Seth, when are we going to add to the perks, drinks with Jack, right?
You guys can drink with Jack anytime you want, but
Gary nods.
but yeah, we'll be looking at, we want to see what everybody likes about this, what kind of features they want. I mean, the goal over time is that there's enough value that it's a no-brainer for you and something that makes a ton of sense for you. So I know everybody's going to want to know more about home leaderboards because it's the single most requested feature. And now that we have the infrastructure and we have the program, we'll let these guys talk to you about home leaderboards.
Yeah, as soon as we launched and said, hey, we're going to have all these new features, and we said we're going to, get this special price if you guys jump in before the features start rolling out, I immediately, inboxes were like, so many questions about home leaderboards. So I'm glad that we get a chance to kind of show you guys a little bit more about what it'll look like within the app. For those of you who aren't operators, you'll get essentially what the operators have today. So in the Insider Connected app, when you go to your account, you're going to see a Game Room Pro. If you guys have machines, it'll, it used to say My Machines, but now it's the Game Room Pro. When you click into it, you get your own kind of special portal, and it shows you machine statistics and trends. It shows you tech alerts, and then it also allows you to set up leaderboards for your locations. The setup of the leaderboards is pretty simple. You give it a name, you set your dates that you want to. A lot of operators do like, okay, we're gonna have one for the year of like year all, or like just all time, or maybe once a month. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys at home end up doing. So you set up the leaderboards and they do appear in the app. So if anybody comes over and plays on your game, you're going to be able to see it in the leaderboard section. They're not going to be open to just anybody. It's going to be more of a private experience where if you play on it, you see it, or if you own it, you see it. So you can see it in the app, but you're also going to be able to see it. We give you what's called a kiosk URL, and that URL lets you use like a larger TV to display it. So if you have a game room, you can mount a big screen and have your leaderboard there to kind of give it that nice arcade feel.
Sorry.
My bad, I went too fast.
No, it's
No.
good. So these are your two views. You're going to be able to see it in the IC app, and you're going to be able to put it on a TV. So yes, you'll be able to put it on a TV if you want in your game room.
All right, coming up, we have a new holiday quest. This is one that we want the community to participate in. It's a Beat That Score quest. We're going to be putting out a call to action here shortly to ask community members to submit videos of their gameplay. We're going to randomly choose them, and they will be the community member to beat for the week. You'll also see some people within Stern putting out challenges, and hopefully we can get some good participation here, and there'll be more to come. Lastly, we have a really small team on Insider Connected. We've been able to do a lot only because of all of you. We've had a ton of feedback from the community. We do read it all, even if we have to comb through some of the expletives sometimes. But seriously, Insider Connected is the biggest benefit it's given us is a direct dialogue with all of you, and we're going to have many more features coming this next year that we hope are very community driven. So please keep it coming. Everything you send us is very valuable.
Great. All right, that's the end of our presentation. So we have a few minutes to take some questions. I'm sure you guys have questions. Maybe you got plenty of questions.
Do you pick or do I pick?
You can pick.
Just
You
you pick.
We trust you.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Andrew from Philly. Just on feedback, you're talking a lot about feedback, how you use it. Like, what is the best way to get feedback to you? I know I've emailed the IC line, and like Taylor, you messaged me like 3 days after that. It was like saying you saw it, which like felt amazing. But like, what is the best way for the 300 people here to get feedback to Stern about
For
like, what
game
works or not?
software related, there's bugreports.com at sternpinball.com. That'll get to me or any of the game team. If you hit me up later, I'll give you a business card and you can get a hold of me as well. What about
We also
IC?
have IC feedback at sternpinball.com.
Yeah.
So anything IC related, you can send there.
And then, of course, many of you are intimately familiar with my Facebook Messenger account.
Yeah, go to the official ones, not George. Like he's got work to do, you know. So and the rest of these wonderful folks are very happy to help you,
Yeah.
and they prefer to just help you rather than have George message them and then have to help you.
Somehow you guys have also found me.
So it's IC support,
I see feedback.
okay, and bug reports at sternpinball.com.
Tim Kenny, we're Marquee Pinball out of Napa, and we just got a bunch of machines and some of your older machines. What's your point of view on Spike 3 and Insider Connect? And bringing it to the older machines? Or are you just going to keep doing remasters and push us that way? Do you have a point of view?
From from IC point of view, it's on Spike 2, it'll be on Spike 3, everything moving forward. So I'm not sure
When you talked about bringing Spike 3 to the older machines,
Okay,
that's
so
what I'm trying to ask.
what I'm saying there is one of the design requirements that Andrew Pines and I set out for ourselves was we want to keep, my opinion is a game should be able to be operating in the field for at least 10 years. If it doesn't make 10 years, I'd be disappointed. Some of the Spike 1 games are getting to be 10 years old. At some point, some of the chips, last time I checked, we have 41 Spike 1 boards in inventory to be able to be purchased for, replacements. Someday, 5 years from now, maybe those 41 won't be there. I want that game to still be operational. So the Spike 3 motherboard can be put in a Spike 1. I will provide updated software to keep the game running as is. Now, since it's got the DMD display, there's not really a good way to bring IC to it at this time.
So I think there's a couple of questions tied up in here. Guido's talking a lot about we want longevity for the games in the field and getting to do Spike 3, but Spike 2 games showing up on Spike 3, there's nothing in the pipeline right this second that we're working on to change those over or move those over. We're busy enough with all the other games we're making. So we have, we have remasters, we're making new games. Right now that's the stuff we're focused on in terms of go forward.
Hi, my name is Ed, just a player. When can we get analytics about our play back to us, about how often we drain in the left versus the right, center, all that
So
That's
it's a
definitely a
great,
highly
great,
requested feature.
great question. Advanced analytics, advanced player analytics, we've been talking a lot about. I don't know that we have an exact time frame on it right now, but it has been on I would say our short list of priorities is to get you some more advanced player analytics. The fun part of advanced player analytics is actually defining which we should actually give you and then how to display them to you. So that's actually been part of the rub there is we got to do a bunch of work about, I think some of you folks want the spreadsheet full, but others of you want it to actually fit on your phone. So we've got a little bit more work to do there on defining exactly what it is, but that one's pretty high on our list right now, advanced player analytics.
I think it's the prototype template for that is, of course, the information the game teams want to tune their games,
Yep.
right? So historically, game teams have looked at the diagnostics of the game in the field to help tune the game. And so the very first subset that you'll ever see is probably going to be a derivative of what we generate first for the game teams. The beauty of IC is that it's such a double-edged sword in terms of data. We are inundated in data. We have to take the data and parse it, sort it, and decide where it belongs, and that is a monumental effort also.
But if you keep asking for stuff, it does prioritize it. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Tyler. So I have young kids at home. They love getting those badges when they first get playing the first game, right? Will we ever see quest badges, event badges, as screen pops on our games, or do we have to keep logging into our
That's
games?
also one that makes perfect sense why you're requesting it. It's a highly requested thing to get that instant gratification. Like nothing feels better than that achievement sound and seeing it pop up on the game. It's I think pretty much just everything Seth just said and George just said about player stats, also that.
Yeah, it's a technology lift challenge of getting the system to talk to the machine and the machine to have all that and pop it up. it's one we keep talking about and is, simmering up the list. As we finally knock off home leaderboards, we move on to some of this other stuff, and that's been a much requested feature. Also, before anybody asks for it, yes, we know you want to remotely control your games.
Hi. This is all very exciting, great tour today. And curious of when that will be available for the room leaderboards and the subscription service for IC.
So you can sign up for the subscriptions right now. The home leaderboard should roll out, and I'm going to say approximately 2 weeks. That's my ballpark.
As far as the tour scheduling stuff goes, if for y'all all access members that want to come visit the tour, it'll probably be sometime in November that we allow you guys to start scheduling, and this tours won't start till 2026. But we'll make sure that we put out messages to you guys so you get notified when when home leaderboards launch, when the tours are ready to be scheduled.
Team Troy from Colorado, so a heavy IC user. So when we got the iPhone app update, we lost the ability to see, like, I was number 2 in the world out of all the users, hence moved to number 1.
Yep.
We lost all of the data on all the badges for that. Are we going to get that back?
You will. It's again, like, there's a lot of things from when we did the infrastructure revamp, and we released app 2.0. There were some things that that were not carried forward from the original design, and we're gonna get all that back out to you guys over time. Promise.
Hi.
Hi.
Why do you make such a little display? You need for the Empire a bigger display.
Why do we do a bigger display on the Star Wars game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we wanted to, and I'll let George and team talk about this a little bit, but, why not fit a bigger display? One of our big requirements was that we wanted the artwork to retain the same size, but why not give people, more bang for their buck and more immersion? And that was both the audio experience and the video experience. So now it's a much more immersive display. It has better color depth. It has better resolution, as well as the speakers and all of that. So people want immersion and they want quality, and so we were able to deliver more quality and more immersion, I think, with that. George?
That's it, really. I mean, it seemed like a natural thing.
Yep. Moving to the 1080p full HD display size, but retaining the full back box art size was very important.
Right. Yeah, we know you want the back glass to remain as is, and so it was a huge challenge to fit that 18.5 display without turning the back box completely upside down and changing it radically. So that, for me, it was the best of both worlds. You got a bigger display, you got a better speaker system, and you got to keep the back glass as it was.
Hi, my name is Alexi. I'm a local pinball enthusiast. So one of my favorite things being introduced to and exposed to Stern Pinball, just call it Stern Pinball, were the achievements and Insider Connected. We all love the achievements and the achievements popping up. As a homeowner myself, I kind of loved chasing those achievements, especially with the new game and earning the easier ones faster. And kind of, I'm still working on the triple Hawkeye challenge, and it's my last one.
That's a tough one.
It's really hard. But I noticed that, as I earned all the achievements, it's kind of like, oh, my interest is kind of waning a bit. Have you given any thought at all on a legacy system?
Yeah, we have actually talked about what happens when you get everything, and it's been a conversation.
I'd say it's percolating. There's two things. Do we allow them to reset it? Do we do season 2 of achievements? It's been internal discussion, and as they say, maybe it'll percolate up the list.
Yeah, I don't think we have a great answer yet. One of the challenges, of course, is resources, right? It's just, we're building new games, we're fixing stuff, we're developing all kinds of different new stuff, and so it's a question of, how much bandwidth do we have to go back and extend some of that stuff.
It-
But I do hear you, because I think you're not the first person to talk to us about this.
It's also coming up with meaningful achievements. So a lot of the design, I helped do the design for a lot of the early games, and we certainly, I think, got better as we went along. Particularly, I liked the titling of them got more tongue-in-cheek and more kind of creative. But a lot of the design that I did with some of the achievement sets were to get you to understand or explore areas of the rule set or play field that you might not be even aware of. It might help you go, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing in this game, let alone achievement. So they were meant to be, fun discovery, surprise and delight, but also to educate you about some of the corners of the game that you might not be familiar with. So doing a second season of them, we've sat around and thought about, well, what does that look like? How does this work? Is it more of a quest related thing? Because most of the games have coverage on everything. So it's a priority decision, and also a creative decision of what's the right thing to do that would be meaningful instead of just a retread.
Okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions. I already won. Okay.
Oh, he's cutting you down.
I pointed to him first. Sorry.
Sorry, I actually have Joe from Toronto. I actually have one question, one suggestion, and one demand. Okay, but I quick.
Joe,
question.
I am shocked.
Okay, quick question. Is the display 60 frame, like 59.97 frame rate?
It's 1080p. We're doing it at 60 hertz. We're doing it at true color.
Cool. My suggestion is, with badges, have you ever considered doing like secret badges that you achievements that you internally are going to give out, and then if somebody puts in 10,000 hours on Star Wars, they get something. Okay, great. Okay.
Easter eggs.
Awesome. And my demand is that last summer you guys sent Kyle Spiteri over to Player One up here in Toronto, Canada, to demonstrate the node system, and even to a dummy like me who knows nothing about technology. It was really clear and incredibly engaging for everyone in the audience there. And I demand that you send Kyle back up to Player One in next summer, 2026.
So
I demand that.
I think the question is Kyle Spiteri the best? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, we're also trying to do digital Kyle Spiteri by getting him to do a bunch of these YouTube videos. I know, but we got to share Kyle all around everybody.
There's not enough Kyles in this world.
You're not the first guy to give him rave reviews.
One short question. Will we ever see a tilt badge?
There is a tilt achievement.
Yeah? Okay.
No, Byron.
Oh.
Tilt away.
Well, there's Deadpool has that as a champion, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.